So, my friends, so we had a quiz yesterday. Agree? So, God started doing me this favor. So sometimes you have the day, right? You have the day that things just didn't come. Thank you, sir. You have the things that just didn't come completely together. So if that was you on any quiz day, take it upon yourself. Come see me. Let's go through your stuff. We'll discuss what you missed, why you missed it, and then I'll give you half your points back. Fair? It's like, what? Stirrup's crazy. All right. Let's talk about lower. I am on page 23, by the way. Lower and upper outliers. Lower and upper outliers. So a lower outlier is something when we do our box and whisker graph. You guys put your fingerprints on my glasses again. Mean kids. So a very low outlier would be something like this. So my one, as people get older, and if this ever happens to me, you have my permission to run me over. Got it? Please? Because I shouldn't still exist if I get to this way. But sometimes older people just say the wrong thing. Now, I say the wrong thing all the time, so maybe I need to get run over now. But we were at a family dinner with my wife's family, and my mother-in-law's sister was at dinner with us, and there, it was like, I don't know, 30 of us at this dinner, and we're having a nice time, and all of a sudden, a short adult, aka a midget, walks by. So we're all around this big dinner table, and here comes this very short person. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a short dude. I'm the average height guy, and I call BS on it because me at 5'9", I'm the average height, means half the guys should be above my height and half are below. No, every guy is taller than me, except for Matt Owens, my best friend. But my wife's mother or aunt, we're sitting there and we're chatting. Oh, how you doing? And all of a sudden she stands here and she goes, "Look, a midget!" And I look at my brother-in-law John, and we're like looking at each other like this, going, "Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look." Oh my God, she just said that. I can't believe she said that. But my point on that, now that I grabbed your attention for socially inappropriate behaviors, heights of people, a lower quartile could be somebody who is, under 4'5". And I'm not talking about a child, I'm talking about a grown adult, somebody who has, reached the extent. They can be extremely, very far below the 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% of box and whiskers. But now let's go on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think I told you guys this, but many years ago, right before I started teaching, my dad who's 6'2", so he's taller than me. My dad's also 350 pounds. He weighs more than me. But don't worry, he's got me by a few inches, so 350 pounds, he carries it well. But what I'm trying to point out is my dad is a bigger man. He's taller than me. But we go walking into Scottsdale Fashion Square down at Scottsdale, Arizona, and here comes Shaquille O'Neal. Okay? Shaquille O'Neal's by himself. He's got a bag full of CDs. He just, this is back in the day when CDs were popular. Well, music on the phones now. But he's got a bag full of CDs. And My dad and I are walking in the door, and Shaquille's coming in. I was like, "Hi, Shaq, how you doing?" I mean, I'm literally like this. He's big. He shakes my hand. So say my hand is the size of my finger. He shakes my hand. It's like this. Like I have like an infant-sized hand, and he's shaking my hand. Now, Shaquille O'Neal, at the opposite end of the spectrum, he's going to be an outlier way, way, way to the right. Okay? Now, we have to determine how we know we are looking at outliers and how we aren't looking at outliers. And again, this is on page 23, but I'm kind of going off the cuff. So we had done this box plot, sometimes called box and whiskers, where you have a min, you have a max, Q3, median, Q1. Agree? We've seen this before? Dude, we just quizzed on it, duh. But then you could have an outlier, which is like beyond it. Or you could have an outlier down here, which is beyond. So you have upper and lower outliers, okay? But it doesn't always make sense if you're doing a box and whiskers plot to know if you're dealing with an outlier or not. So there's two equations, and it's based off this graph. So if you do Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, okay, or you do, so this is for our lower outlier, and I'll explain what things are if you're like, I don't remember this. Or if I do this, this is how you find your upper outliers, okay? So a few things. The IQR, we just quizzed on it. A lot of you got it correct, is Q3 minus Q1, okay? The IQR deals with 50%. This whole region is 50% of the data, where I have 25% to the left of the median, 25% to the right of it, okay? So the IQR. So in order to find these regions, this one would be this equation, this one would be this equation, and Desmos will indeed deal with the outliers for you, which is also a bonus. Okay, so if you are asked on the next quiz to draw a box and whiskers or a box plot that has outliers, the beautiful thing is if you know what you're looking at, you're going to get it correct because Desmos will do it for you. But we might ask you if something is a certain outlier. Okay, so these two equations are going to be used in order to determine if we have something as an outlier. Now, another outlier that might take place, and I always go with, the quiz question. If I had a quiz that was worth 20 points, and I was giving it to my Algebra 1 kids, and they were all getting 5s and 6s and 3s and 2s, and then you got that one kid who is supposed to be like in Calculus 20, who comes in the class and busts out and gets a 20 out of 20 on it. That's going to be an outlier with respect to the rest of the class with the data, okay? Just to fill out the rest of this, 25% of my data still fits here, 25% sits out here. Now, the question sometimes comes, does this outlier count with some of this 25%? The answer is yes. And does this outlier count with this 25%? That is also true, okay? So our box and whiskers, those whiskers off to the side should be like, probably say that they're 24.9% with a 0.1% that can go beyond either way. And it's not really that, but I'm just trying to point that out. So let's see where we're at. So let's look at an example. I'm just going to make this up. Let's say we had this box plot. We are given the 5-number summary. And remember, the 5-number summary, you can't plug into Desmos to graph. Because you try and do a box plot, when they give you the 5-number summary, it's going to give you the 5-number summary based on the 5-number summary. And that 5-number summary of the 5-number summary, and I said that too many times, is not going to fit. But let's say we had 10 here, we had 20 here, we had 25 here, we had 30 here. Let's say this was 40, and this is 160. Okay. Now it appears that 160, you could probably look at this one saying, I very much have exploited this problem. So it should be obvious that the 160 does work. But let's verify that that's an outlier. Okay. So with what I've said so far, is that an upper bound outlier or a lower bound outlier? Upper, just to the right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Now, I need your help with a calculator, if you don't mind. So Q3, does everyone feel comfortable, is 30? Okay, and I'll label this just in case. Median, Q1, minimum. Okay, that's what this label. So I have 30 plus 1.5, and then the IQR, remember, the IQR is Q3 minus Q1. So that's going to be 30 minus 20. I get it. I could have just said it was 10, but I'm just trying to share the steps. 30 plus 1.5 times 10. 10 times 1.5. I guess we don't have to use a calculator because stirrup is a little brighter than normal. Okay. So this gives me 45. So if we had information out here to 45, that is where it still could, our data could still fit into our box plot. The 160, because the 160 is so much greater than 45, it is definitely an outlier. Now, I made my values too small to deal with having an outlier to the left. Let's see. Well, it might work. Let's say we had a score of 0. We want to know the score is 0 if it's an outlier. So this was for the upper. Now let's find the lower. So lower is Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. What was the IQR? Anybody? 10. So 20 minus 15 is 5. So is 0 in this case an outlier or a lower outlier? Because 5 technically would be where our box and whiskers could go down and still encompass and not be an outlier. Okay, now this 5-number summary, which is the min, Q1, median, Q3, and the max, is one way to take a look at the data. The mean lives somewhere in that whole blue graph. Can I tell you exactly where the mean lives? Well, if the 160 was part of our data, the mean is going to live further to the right from 25, the median. If we didn't have the 160, but we had the 0, if I use 0, the mean is going to live to the left of 25. Notice I did not give you an exact value of what the mean or median would be. It's just we're talking about how it's pulling our data, okay, as far as looking at numerical values. Okay, we're not making any conclusions based on this. We're just saying, hey, this is our data. So outliers are relatively easy. I would say these are definitely 2 formulas you definitely want to have down and know how to do it. I was a little concerned, and I get it, life takes place, but there were some people, and I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, so please don't take it that way. There were some of you that did not have that half sheet of paper. And I get it. Something, you might have been busy with something. I get it. But it concerns me that, you know, when I was going even over in class, that you could have started it. And some of you are coming up with beautiful sheets of half sheets of paper. And some of you put a little bit down, some of you put a lot down. And then I was concerned that yesterday there was some of you that did not have it. That concerns me a little bit. And again, I realized things would happen, but it was a higher amount of people didn't have it between my first and second period than I would have expected. I mean, I always expect that one kid. Okay, I don't know who that one kid is.
Someone out there flipping out. Those are second period students.
Nikes. All right. You guys have my back because my back is against the wall. All right. Do you feel I've chased this dog around a tree enough for you guys? Oh, one other place there's outliers. We all see certain athletes that get paid an extraordinary amount of money. Agree? But if we were to, someone do me a favor. What is the minimum that a Broncos player will make? 500 grand? Didn't you have to look it up? Okay. $500,000 to play football. Is Wilson the highest paid? $227 a year. So we'll say, RW, Russell Wilson, is getting $83 million. Okay, now let me ask you this: we have this player is making $500,000, and we have this player is making $83 million a year. Okay. The rest of our data is going to fall in here. Agree? Okay, yes, we're going to have data points all along these lines. We're going to have a median amount of money. I don't know how much that is. I mean, I imagine we could look up the salaries and figure it out, but that's too goofy. We have a quartile 3, quartile 1. But I would have a question is, would this be an outlier in your opinion? What do you think? Can you any of you pull up the Broncos salary for all players? And I'm just curious what the next lowest player would make. Anybody?
Garrett Bowles makes the most. Base salary is $17 million a year.
Bowles is $17 million a year.
With $1 million signing bonus.
Okay, so we got somebody who's making $17 million a year. I'm curious. I would be curious how many of the guys are only at that $500,000 mark. I mean, don't get me wrong. If the Broncos came to me and said, "Hey, Stirrup, you need to be on our team. We'll pay $500,000 to be on our team to suit up during the game and never get to play," dude, I'm in. Sideline seats with a helmet on. I get a Super Bowl ring too. Did you ever take a snap, Stirrup? Nope. I doubt they would ever consider me. You know, I mean, I know I had skills in high school. Yeah, right. But so I would say Wilson would definitely be an outlier on that. The $17 million could be, depending upon what the rest of the guys made, but we have an upper outlier. So that is 110. Hey, when do you guys want to test on this stuff? Do you want to have another quiz and then test? Next Thursday? Okay. Maybe. You guys are way more in tune with your calendars than I am. I'm proud of you guys. All right. So my friends, I'm going to give you page 123 and page 124, and this will be due end of class Friday, which is tomorrow. Agree? Does that seem okay?